How's it going, game passionate people? This is Top Shelf Toy with another game passionate gameplay video. This one's going to be of Back 4 Blood, if you haven't read the title already. And specifically, it's going to be Act 1, Level 4-3, Abandon. I'll be joined in today's video by Nebiroze, Belphegor Grimm, and a random person who shout out to the random fighter, and I'll give another shout out I'm sure later on in the video. They did an excellent job and were a wonderful teammate to have, so I appreciate it. I don't claim to be very good at Back 4 Blood. I like playing it, but I'm certainly not a seasoned veteran in it as some people are. I think our random person certainly was because they handled themselves professionally. I mean, maybe not actually professionally, but very controlled. How about that? Anyways, here we go into the gameplay. We've opened the safe house door and we are on the move. In this particular game, instead of looking for shelters to hide in, you're kind of clearing out hordes of zombies to make the area safe again. And that's a bit of a departure from the other game always associated with this one, Left 4 Dead. These two games are made by basically the same development studio, but they are not connected in the lore sense of it. The studio made clear to separate the two, and they wanted to be sure that, hey, while this may play similarly, the things like the card system and the other additions to this game separate it, and they don't see it as Left 4 Dead 3. If you're unfamiliar with this particular version of the post-apocalyptic world, I'll give a little heads up for it. Back 4 Blood takes place after a catastrophic outbreak where most of humanity has either been killed or infected. A group of veterans of the apocalypse called the Cleaners have rallied together to take on the parasite-infected horrors known as the Ridden to take back what is left of the world. There are an awful lot of horrors in this world, so if you've got a weak stomach and don't like blood, for example, I mean, the game's got it in the title, so be expectant for some gore. This is not a children's game, and that's fine. One of the things that I appreciate about this game is I feel like you are constantly doing something. There's not a lot of stand around time. There are constantly pressure from just the random zombie. It doesn't have to be a horde of them, but you are rarely standing around with nothing to do. There are a few designated spots where you can check your gear and kind of regroup momentarily, but not many in the moment as you're going from point to point throughout the level. You are clearing out these areas, you're finding out gear that you can take, and you're slowly but surely pushing to some of these choke points where sometimes you get swarmed, and it is crazy. The Ridden vary in size and strength. As you can see, Nebiroze here is being chased by a tall boy, and those are large Ridden that stalk towards their victims while periodically bursting forward to cover ground. If they get close, they smash you with their club-like arm, so you have to focus your fire on the weak spots to take them down. The tall boy's weak point is that spot on their shoulder, for sure. So as we continue to push down these narrow streetways, we're getting to where Hoffman kind of chimes in and says his father used to live around here. I really like how the characters talk to one another, even themselves, as you progress through the level. I think that's a great way to convey story and plot mechanic, and it genuinely makes me want to play with all the different cleaners to see what they all say to one another. You won't be able to play with every single one of them since your team is just 4 people, but the different variations and combinations make me curious. I appreciate that each individual zombie isn't quite as threatening on their own. The real strength of these infected or ridden is in the hordes. They throw numbers at you which become really hard to overcome unless you're strategic about how you plan and set yourself up. Plus they just jump you all the time, as you can see. You have to constantly be checking back in with the other members of your party to be sure that you're not taken away. Being a relative greenhorn in this game, I find that I'm constantly drawn away by curiosity of a kind of, oh, what's that over there? And this is a perfect point in case. I was like, oh, that's a giant zombie coming out from a basement. I was able to blast it with this automatic shotgun and make pretty short work of it, but then once you go inside and you see the basement it's been in, gross. It's super gross. But awesome level design. As the team makes their way in, we get upstairs, and of course, there is a whole different thing going on here. It is a nest. So to kill these nests, you actually have to find this room or an area where these vital points are exposed, and then obviously destroy the vital points. The nest is darn near a living entity, so you got to kill it along with everything else inside. The big fella at the top of the stairs there is what's known as a reeker, and you can guess why. They are disgusting. I'm glad they haven't invented like a smell-o-vision in games, because I don't know if I could play stuff like this if they did. So after creating many more bodies in this house, we're kind of in the last throngs of it, kind of looking around to see if there's anything left to loot. I certainly took a fair amount of damage, and so I had to find that health pack on the wall. The first aid cabinet, that is to say. With the enemies cleared out of this particular nest, we make our way throughout the rest of the house, making sure we looted everything, grabbed everything worth getting, grabbed all the first aid that you can get, any coin, copper, and this is more like the safe house that we're talking about. It's like a midpoint for the level itself. You have a chance to regroup, check your current guns and ammo situation, see if you need to switch any secondaries, heal up if you've got a first aid pack, and Tesseractum here definitely does a great job of triggering a whole bunch of fools, but keeping us the most protected, where we can definitely just bottleneck the heck out of them right here, and we make a certain mess. I found it quite enjoyable to have the automatic shotgun, an excellent weapon for close range combat, especially when they are coming right at you through a doorway at medium range. Like, alright, are we done? Is that... Okay. Jeez, that's a whole lot of zombies they throw at you for just this little small point right there. I was informed by my teammates that the idea here is once this particular crane lifts and kind of adds you to the next section of the map, you just need to book it. There's certain areas in games that I always appreciate where it's not about fighting, it's about getting from point A to point B and not getting too distracted with all the craziness in between those 2 points. So, as everybody gets ready here, Nebiroze activates the lift, waiting for that car to come up, and once it does, then we have access to get moving. Of course, it's a perfect time for a ridden attack, and so here they come. So, last one out, but I'm able to watch everybody else as I kind of follow my way up. You do have stamina in this game, and that's what that lungs icon is down in the middle. So you can't quite tell because I'm not looking behind me just yet, but there are plenty of ghouls coming. Alright, my teammates covered me as we got into another house, this one a lot cleaner than the last one we were in, which I will take any day of the week when walls aren't literally crawling. So as I was making my way through this house, I noticed that the Ridden, they don't exactly care if the door's closed or locked. So there's that. And they seem to be just about everywhere. There's not a place that they won't go or get to. You really have to make sure that you're covering your teammates and making your way to the next objective because they don't relent on attacking you. As we finish with this stretch, we make our way to this kind of open area, and I definitely was going to try to do a little bit of a fish in a barrel kind of technique. I wasn't going to get off this little rooftop unless I had to, but yet again, the Ridden prove that they'll go everywhere. They're not afraid. With that, the small scuffle is taken care of, and we are on to the next section of level. As we cross the river here in a group, always with a group, we make our way with Tesseractum taking point. Another thing that I find impressive about this game is just how much distance you and your team cover from a starting point in a level to an ending point. Not all levels, of course, have the same amount of distance, but for example, this level we started in an abandoned gas station, and we made our way through a town, and now we're in an abandoned mine. I got a little too far away from the group right here, and I had to turn around and check back in before I got too far and overextended. Thankfully, they were still pretty close by. So as we make our way up here, we find out that there are mine shacks that are continually flowing with an influx of ridden. Basically, if you don't stop these shacks, you keep getting more and more ridden coming after you. In comes a tall boy. Thankfully, we've got pretty good firepower and pretty good spacing. That makes a big difference. You can see them just spilling out of there, but if you put enough shots to it, I think there's something explosive that triggers and collapses the shaft and destroys that nest. Oh, another reeker. Still gross. Once that reeker gunk dissipates, we're on the move again, sprinting uphill, trying to get to the safe house once we clear out this mine. I couldn't quite figure out what was going on there. I thought there might be something to shoot, but there wasn't. Or if there was, I sure didn't see it. Alright, made our way to the top floor. Get into the safe room. Everybody go. Alright, we all pile in and shut the door. And that is level complete. Act 1, level 4-3, Abandon complete. Special thanks to Tesseractum. We appreciate the random assist, and definitely special thanks to Nebiroze and Belphegor Grim 1. Always a pleasure playing with everybody. Please don't forget to give a like or subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and check out some of the other content on our channel. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.